What's up, fantasy football fans, and welcome to the Fastest 4 Minutes in Fantasy Inaugural Edition 2015 Draft Preview Special. For those of you new to the Fastest 4 Minutes in Fantasy, we strive to provide you with the most in-depth, concise, hard-hitting, and fast-paced fantasy football knowledge on the planet. Now, if you're ready to dominate your draft in 2015, stick around, because here we come. Let's get the party started here on the Fastest 4 Minutes in Fantasy with the 5 R's to dominating your fantasy draft in 2015. Number 1, understand the rules of your league. Number 2, begin doing your research. Number 3, I need to start ranking your players. Number 4, who are your rejects? That's right, who are you not going to draft? And number 5, repetition. Mock draft, mock draft, mock draft. So in a quick little concise summary, your 5 R's to dominating your fantasy draft in 2015. Number 1, understand your rules. Number 2, begin doing your research. Number 3, begin compiling your rankings. Number 4, who are your rejects? And number 5, repetition. Mock draft, mock draft, mock draft. Now here's a quick little breakdown of each of the 5 R's to help you dominate your fantasy draft in 2015. Alright, the number 1 rule to dominating your fantasy league, not just in the draft but during the regular season, is understanding your rules. It is the most overlooked rule in all of fantasy football. How many points do your quarterbacks score for touchdowns? 4 points or 6 points? If your quarterbacks only score 4 points per touchdown, you can wait later to draft them. Is your league a PPR league, meaning points per reception? If so, you need to focus on drafting players who catch a lot of balls either out of the backfield, at receiver, or tight end. How about your defenses? I play in 2 leagues where defenses score a lot of points, almost as much as running backs and quarterbacks. So I'm not afraid to draft a defense in the 5th or 6th round. But if in your league defenses don't score much, you can wait till the end of the draft. But you need to understand your rules. If you don't understand your rules, you will not only not have a successful draft, you will not have a successful season, and I promise you, you will never win a fantasy championship. Understand your rules. Now that you understand the rules of your league, it's time to begin doing some research. That's right, number 2 on the 5 R's to dominating your fantasy draft. The first thing I want you to do is go to your local convenience store and pick up one of these. But be assured that these are here for you for facts, not for opinions. Read this book as if it were an encyclopedia, not an opinion column. Find out what players are on new teams, what are the new coaching schemes, what are their statistics from last year, who has the strongest offensive lines. Use these for facts. Now, as you're reading your sources of information, grab a pen and paper. Write down anything that intrigues you, players, hidden gems, any sort of statistics that you think will help you in your draft. We can't remember everything, so make sure you write it down. And the final and third piece to doing your research in 2015 will be going online. That's right. Use your iPad, your computer. Go to NFL.com, ESPN.com, Fantasy Football Guys. Use those websites to your advantage and use them for research. Again, avoid most opinions. Everybody's got an opinion, but use them for facts. There you go. Number 2 on dominating your fantasy football draft in 2015, research. After you've taken the time to do your research, it's time for you to begin compiling rankings of your players. I want you to start out by doing your top 10 players at each position: quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, defenses, even kickers. Rank your top 10, and once you have your top 10 at each position, you then want to create your top 100. Now, these lists may change from a week ago or a week ahead. Just know that players get injured, things change, circumstances change, your opinion changes, so don't be afraid to change your rankings. But come draft time, your rankings should be set in stone. And as each player is drafted, cross them off your list, and when it's your time to draft, you draft the best player available on your list. The key is being prepared, and to be prepared, rank your players. Now that you've compiled your rankings, it's time for you to make a list of your rejects. That's right, the players you absolutely will not draft at any cost. Create a list of maybe 5 players at each position that you know you will not draft. Maybe they play for a team that you absolutely hate and can't stand rooting for. Maybe you drafted them in the past and they completely ruined your season. Maybe you think they're too old. Maybe you think they're too young. Maybe you think they play in a fantasy system that just isn't conducive to points. Either way, compose a list of 5 players at each position that you know you will not draft. And I promise you, it'll keep your mind clear during draft day, which can be very, very stressful. The player will come up into your queue and you will know that you're not planning on drafting him because you are prepared and you know he is a reject. Now that we've covered the 4 R's of the 5 R's in dominating your draft, it's time for most likely the most important R in the process: repetition. That's right, mock drafting over and over and over. If you haven't mock draft before, no worries. It's easy, it's fun, and you'll get a kick out of it. You can go to Fantasy Football Calculator, you can go to Yahoo Sports. Just go to Google, type in Fantasy Football Mock Drafts, and find one that works for you. It will help if you know your position in the draft order, but if not, no worries. You can draft from multiple positions over and over. This way you'll be able to find out which players will fall to you in which rounds, and you can base your strategy based on those results. For example, if you find that in the 4th round, the quality of running backs left for you are shit, make sure you get your running backs in the 1st or 2nd rounds. But you'll only know this by repetitively mock drafting. Or you may find that in the 7th or 8th round, there's some name brand receivers that will be great for your number 2. This way you don't have to reach for your receivers in rounds 4 or 5, but you'll only know this by repetitively mock drafting. That's right, the 5th R, repetition. Mock, mock, mock. And there you have it, fantasy football fans, the 5 R's to dominating your draft in 2015. Thank you again for joining us. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding your fantasy draft, please post them below and we will answer them as soon as possible. And stay tuned, we'll be coming out with positional previews as well for this year's draft. Quarterbacks, wide receivers, defenses, tight ends, you name it. We'll give you the inside scoop on not just the top players to draft, but the hidden gems that you should be on the lookout for. Thanks again for joining us, and see you soon.